Hey, what up, Long Beach? Welcome back to your home for everything local sports and another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk, where we look much better in a football jersey than Sam Bradford ever will. As always, I'm co-sports editor JJ Fiddler. To my right,
you're going to have to give me a better compliment than that. I'm co-sports editor Mike Gardavasio, and to my right,
Tyler Hendrickson. And like a firefighter saving a kitten from a tree, I'm going to whip out a ladder and go save JJ from that limb he just crawled out onto. We got to thank our sponsors, Naples Rib Co. If you're feeling hungry, go down and get yourself some ribs, some sausages, some mashed potatoes, some baked beans. I mean, pretty much anything you'd want down at Naples Rib Co. on 2nd Street. And we also want to thank our new sponsors, Long Beach Transit. We will not be taking Long Beach Transit out to Vegas this weekend, but you can take Route 1 out to the Galaxy games. Oh, Galaxy! If you want to catch some football.
Nice. The wheels on the bus do go round and round. We are going to whip it round and round and let you know where all of the local high school football teams will be playing this weekend. But number one on the docket with a bullet is the marquee matchup of the weekend. The consensus number one team in the nation, the Bishop Gorman Gales, taking on your Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits. We saw this Gales team beat St. John Bosco last year. They are the 3-time defending Nevada State champions, and they have got some talent. And their offensive backfield, oh my, starting with Biagio Walsh, that's B-I-A-G-G-I-O, and Biagio was his name-o. The junior running back.
I love the fountains at the Biagio.
Nice. The junior running back averaged 12 yards per carry on only 49 carries last year and scored 10 touchdowns. This year, after only 43 carries, he's already got 400-plus yards and 5 TDs. Notre Dame is leading the commitment race there, according to many sites, and he's Muhammad Ali's grandson. So yeah, there's some lineage there.
He is a Muhammad Ali's grandson or the Muhammad Ali's grandson?
He is the Muhammad Ali's grandson and shockingly looks a lot like Andy Sandberg. I gotta say it, man. He's joined back there by Tate Martell. We saw him get to that Bosco's defense last year, like I mentioned. As a sophomore, he threw for over 2,500 yards and 40 TDs. He is a verbal commit, a hard commit to Texas A&M. It's a family affair over there. Head coach Kenny Sanchez took over for his brother, who's now at UNLV. And when you go to that website and you take a look at the facilities at Bishop Gorman, just flip through those pictures and continue to tell yourself that this is a high school and this is the ultimate public v private matchup right here.
It is technically a high school, but facilities-wise, it's certainly better than what Long Beach State's working with. It's certainly better than what San Diego State is working with. I mean, the facilities there are unbelievable. They've got soak pools with logos on them. I mean, it's really a top-notch facility. I'm kind of just as a high school sports person excited to get out there early and kind of do a little walkthrough and see exactly how nice they are, because I've just been blown away by what I've seen.
Yeah, Tyler and Mike are going to be making the trip out there to Vegas. I know, poor them. They get to go to Vegas for the weekend.
It is going to be like 110 degrees. So.
Well, it's been 100. It felt like 110 degrees in Long Beach this week. I'll tell you what. Let's break this down first of all with expectations. I mean, what should Poly fans really be expecting from a game like this?
Well, I think the first thing that they should expect to see is Malik Henry for the first time in pads playing for Long Beach Poly. We expect to see him in some capacity. We don't expect him to start or even play most of the snaps, but he has been cleared. Mike broke that story the other day, and so we're ready to see Malik Henry play, and so that is the first expectation that I think will be maybe the most meaningful part of this game, is how good does he look working in that offense, because obviously he hasn't had a lot of time to develop chemistry with his teammates.
I think to answer your original question, the expectations, it's almost like a Rorschach test. I think what people expect out of this game will tell you a lot about what kind of a fan they are. Because I've heard some Poly fans who just think, Poly's never going to lose a game. They're going to go beat Bishop Gorman. Heard some Poly fans who think they're going to lose by 30. And then you talk to maybe more realistic people who go, well, I don't know that it really even matters what happens in this game, because as Tyler mentioned, Malik will probably see a couple of snaps. He'll see some snaps in this game, but I'd be really surprised if he's like the quarterback for a full half or something. So a lot of people are like, okay, but this might not be what we look like by the end of the year. It's kind of too early to say. So my personal expectations, I think Poly will compete really hard, and I do think that if you're laying odds on this game, I mean, Bishop Gorman's kind of the unanimous number one, and Poly's not nationally ranked by most people, so you wouldn't expect it to necessarily even be a close game on paper. But knowing the way Poly travels, and I think we'd all kind of think maybe they probably play better in big games like this on the road, don't you think? I sort of expect him to come in and have a surprising performance for people and kind of put themselves on the national map a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I think the final score notwithstanding, Poly could get a lot of confidence out of this game. They've played 2 very close games against teams that would probably get routed by Bishop Gorman on paper if you're just looking at that, especially traveling out there to the desert. Let's say it's a 1-score game in the 4th quarter. No matter what the final score is, you got to look at that as a win, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is one of those games, again, where if you're just looking at who they are on paper, for Poly to keep the game close is, I would say, kind of a major win, actually.
Not to harp too much on this game, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the 56-0 loss to Narbonne. So teams can get blown out and still have very successful seasons, and not predicting a blowout. But, if, as we're talking about, the fear is because Bishop Gorman's the number 1 team in the country and you're on the road and Poly hasn't exactly looked I guess we'll say crisp or dominant in their first 2 games, but they did again get an extra week to prepare, which is always helpful. But it's important to remember that this game was not scheduled to beat Gorman or even to be Poly's going to win a national championship this year. It's a way to learn against some really elite competition. You're not going to get a tougher matchup than the number 1 team on the road. So I think that the ability to learn from this game and be better for the playoffs is the most important part. But like you said, JJ, if they can keep it close, that is just going to be nothing but a confidence builder, especially knowing how much better they can get between now and the time the Pac-5 playoffs roll around.
And it also gives them an opportunity to try to get Bishop Gorman to come out to Long Beach and play, which would obviously be a huge event.
And the deal on that, by the way, because I've gotten this question a lot, is there's an agreement in place, a verbal agreement to try and make that happen. Because Poly's obviously not paying for teams to travel, that's not contractually put down, that's not signed that they definitely are. But the expectation certainly of Poly is that the 2 schools will work together to find a way to make that happen next year. So next year could really be quite the party with the Bishop Gorman Roadshow coming to Vets.
Very quickly, we've talked about Malik Henry. We've obviously talked about the McDonald brothers. It gives everyone someone to watch on defense. This Poly Jackrabbit defense, like I said, I think can get the most out of this game. Who should people be watching out for?
I think I'm going to say Josh Brown, the middle linebacker junior, who's just started. I think people have started opening their eyes to how good this kid can be in the last 2 weeks, or the last 2 games, I should say. And I think he sees himself, the team sees him, the coaches see him as a national level recruit, a big time linebacker. So this is the kind of game where if that's the case, this is where you prove that, right? It's not going to be against necessarily the Moore League opponents, but a game like this, if he comes out and has the kind of game he's had the first 2, I think he'll really put himself on the map.
Bishop Gorman should watch out for Josh Talbot, the safety, because he will decleat you if you're not ready. A big hitter. I also think it will be very important for that Poly line to sort of hold its own and be able to get pressure and stop the run. So I think Emmanuel Facili really needs to step up. He's a rising player and starting to become a big-time recruit. So this is an opportunity for him as a senior to show that he is one of the top players in the area. So look for Facili on the line to need to have a pretty good game.
If you see Tyler and Mike this week, wish them safe travels out there to the desert, and make sure you're following us on Twitter before, during, and after the game at PT Gazette Sports.
We're going to take this by the books and take a quick spin through the CIF Southern Section football rankings for the local teams. St. Anthony, number 3, once again in the East Valley Division. CIF voters expecting the Saints to make it to the semifinals at least. Pac-5 division, obviously we've got a pair of schools still. St. John Bosco still number 2, Long Beach Poly still number 4. So they're where they've been and where we expect them to stay. It'll be interesting to see if Poly does perhaps say lose to Bishop Gorman, whether voters do or don't punish them for that, as Bishop Amat has been creeping up.
It's also going to be interesting to see how long Bosco's going to stay at number 2 while shutting teams out and scoring 7 touchdowns a game.
Yes, absolutely, because I think Corona Centennial is in that top spot till they lose. So we may have a race to the finish in the rankings to set up the way that the playoff brackets shake out. In the Southeast Division, aka the Press Telegram Greater Long Beach Area Division, Dominguez makes a big jump from number 5 to number 3. Downey holding steady at number 4, while La Mirada moves up 1 spot to number 6, and Paramount is at number 8. So the San Gabriel Valley League certainly getting plenty of love, as well as one of the Suburban League schools in the Southeast Division. And not to be overlooked, Los Alamitos still number 4 in the West Valley Division, behind Mission Viejo, Vista Murrieta, and Tesoro. Those top 4 spots all staying exactly the same this week.
All right, let's take a look at the docket. Friday night, September 18th, a full list of games because, as you get closer to that league, everybody's playing, trying to get those non-league games in before they really play the ones that count. Everybody looking at Bosco always, it seems like, and this week they were going to be at Cerritos College, a home game at Cerritos for the first time this year, taking on Crespi.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. It's sort of like hard to pinpoint what exactly a home game is for Bosco as they bounce from Vets to Oregon to Cerritos College while their field is being renovated. But would certainly be the biggest game in town for us. Crespi, obviously, a very successful program there with Troy Thomas moving up from Servite. But, truthfully, I just don't really think there's many teams in the country that can hang with Bosco. They're a national top 10 program, so I guess I'm not really going out on much of a limb to say that. Certainly hampering Crespi is the fact that UCLA commit Jalen Starks is being evaluated for a shoulder injury and looks like he may be out of the game, according to our colleague at the Daily News, Evan Barnes. That's a guy they sorely need, kind of maybe even just to keep things competitive. But truthfully, we covered that Poly Crespi game last year. Poly, I'd say, certainly kind of outclassed Crespi, and Bosco is so good right now. It's just hard to see a team locally hanging with them, and we'd sort of expect that to be a big win for the Braves.
Yeah, Bosco is playing against Bosco every week is how I feel. We go to another local game that's very interesting. Milliken at Downey at 7 o'clock. Two teams who took it on the chin last week, but also two teams who have got some pretty high expectations this year for very different reasons. Downey went to a championship game last year trying to get back. Milliken, brand new head coach, but they put up some good offensive numbers.
Right, and they definitely took their lumps last week. That was the little things that were a little out of line, and sometimes you see that when a team gets really confident, they start 2-0, and they play that first really quality opponent, and sometimes the attention to detail is a little off. They kind of get shocked at the beginning when they fall behind, and things sort of unravel. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. Obviously, Downey, a lower division team, still very talented Division I guys. Anxious to see if Darian Franklin gets back on the field. He missed the last 2 weeks, both losses for the Vikings. That would make a very big difference. Really interested to see how that matchup goes. Both teams wanting to get that win and get some rhythm going into league play. Also, Mayfair at Valley Christian, another double dip that we're excited about. That should be an interesting game. Can the Monsoons keep it rolling, and can the Crusaders go up and get a higher division win for their resume?
Yeah, Coach Grayson is doing a great job over there at Valley Christian. We forgot to mention them in the rankings rundown. They went from 9 to 6 with another shutout victory, but this is by far their biggest test taking on Mayfair, where Coach Grayson used to coach.
Well, and Mayfair, as you mentioned, kind of off to their best start in several years, so that'll be interesting. Another lower division team who's had success stepping up is Linwood, going to Jordan. Linwood coming off of one of the biggest wins in program history, 85-0 over Firebaugh. Jordan has been struggling so far this year, but you never know with those lower divisions reaching up to the higher division the way those things are going to shake out, so I'm kind of curious to see what that result is.
The gauntlet continues for Mike Machete and the Matadores of La Mirada as they are at San Clemente. I mean, they just scheduled an absolute murderer's row, so they're trying to navigate through that and get better for Suburban League play, so that continues. That's a 7 p.m. game down on the road.
In a game that I would refer to as the Gartesia Bowl, Gar is visiting Artesia in a game that'll be interesting. Another pair of local teams matching up. The Compton Tar Babes finally get to play against someone from a different city as they're going to travel to face Hawkins.
A team that has been sort of beating up on the Moore League, Paramount, steps out a little bit, and they go to the city section as they travel to visit Carson. So that'll be a big matchup for the Pirates to try to keep things rolling.
We mentioned the St. Anthony Saints. They are going to hit the road with their top 4 ranking in their division, going to San Luis Obispo to take on an undefeated Mission Prep team.
Big storyline game. Warren visiting Firebaugh at Linwood High School. That is head coach Raul Lara going against the defensive coordinator at Firebaugh is Carlos Lara, his little brother. The two of them coached together, and Raul actually coached Carlos when Carlos was a senior at Poly. So that'll be kind of an interesting game to see them go against each other, but Warren certainly looking like the stronger program there.
Headed back to the Moore League, Lakewood hosting Vista Marietta, a very tough game for the Lancers, still looking for their first win. Also looking for their first win, their league mates, the Cabrillo Jaguars, as they host Compton Centennial. So that's a pretty good matchup there and a chance for them to win that ball game and get right into the win column. Moore League kind of been struggling at the early part of the year, aside from Poly, and then we mentioned Milliken starting out 2-0.
We also mentioned Dominguez in that CIF poll rundown. They are at Yorupa Hills. Meanwhile, Cerritos is at Pioneer. Beckman is at Glen, and El Toro is at Norwalk.
Our 2 8-man schools getting going again. Avalon visiting ACE, the Academy of Careers and Exploration, at 6 o'clock. That'll be a late bus ride back, or maybe a night staying over on the mainland. And then Downey Calvary Chapel hosting Orcutt Academy. Actually, they're going to be playing at Rigetti High School. And Rancho Dominguez Prep stepping out of the city section into the southern section with a tough contest at South Torrance.
Finally, on Saturday at 7 p.m. at Pioneer High School, Wilson will take on Whittier. Again, like we mentioned, follow before, during, and after all your local sports coverage action at PT Gazette Sports on Twitter.
Fantasy, baby. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've got a little bit of a tradition going where the people here at the Gazette and the PT have a fantasy league that we all get in on together. I am the 2-time defending champion and the commissioner, so...
collusion!
It could be, but, I mean, I just spank everybody, so...
So all we need to do is take Tyler to a federal court, and the judge will overturn his power as commissioner.
Exactly. Perfect.
Oh, that's so unlit. Very dim idea there, Mike. But I am 0-1. So is Mike, but not all 0-1s are built the same.
No.
As JJ is 1-0 as he held off at the finish line. Monday night drama, which we all love. But Mike, yikes, take us through what happened week 1, dude. It was not pretty.
Yeah, we represent the bookend. I scored the most points, and Mike aggressively scored the least. Did you reach 50, buddy?
I was close to 50.
Closer to 50 than 0.
I was 80% of the way to 50. Yeah, I don't really know what there is to take you through. Some guys I expected big things out of didn't have big things happen, and Deshaun Jackson pulled up lame early in the game. So it was a number of catastrophic failures on the roster, but that's okay. It's only week 1.
And salt in the wounds. You had to get beat by your wife this week. Old Shar Higa put up a paltry 102 on you. So she more than doubled you up.
You know, it's not. I would actually rather lose to Shar than anyone else because we have a joint checking account. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's in my best interest for her to do well. And she's so polite with her competitive. She's good. She's good in our league. She's won our league before, which I cannot say. So I don't mind that so much. I do wish I'd scored more points, and I wish she'd scored 3 more points because then she would have had the most points. Anyway,
yeah,
she got
sorry about
102,
it.
and what do you have, 104?
Sorry, not sorry.
Here's the thing, though. If you're going to lose, you might as well have a bad week because there's nothing worse than scoring a bunch of points and still losing. So you might as well just...
That basically never happens to me. I either win or I lose very badly, as you probably remember.
That's not bad. You just have to bounce back next week and you're good.
We got to let people know when we play each other in this fantasy league so they can root for me.
What's happening? I don't know what's happening next week. I don't even know who's playing who next week.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the summation of Mike's fantasy football season.
Wait. So I'm gonna make matchup adjustments. Come on.
Yes.
Yes, you could.
Not really in fantasy. You could do. You do in baseball though.
I'm playing Tyler. I just looked that up. I'm playing Tyler.
Oh, really?
Perfect.
Oh, dang. You need to stay cold, bro. Because here's the thing. I don't have Le'Veon Bell back yet.
Like you said, I need to bounce back strong. I completely agree.
Well, not as strong as your boy, but I'm also bouncing back from my loss. But I need Le'Veon, so you're lucky you're playing me without him.
That's it. That's all. There ain't no more. Another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk is in the books. Like we said, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you're talking to us during and after those football games. Those are the most fun conversations when you're just at the game, trying to find out what's going on somewhere else. We will let you know. Thanks to everybody at the Press Telegram and the Gazettes. Everything they do to put out the papers and get the websites running, including this show. For Mike, for Tyler, for JJ,
Basura.
for everybody else in Long Beach, that we will see you in the stands this weekend. Take care, y'all.
Don't have to say